Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jameson Rabbit, and the man seated next to me is not Freddy Krueger, but he's a man who still has his Arbor Day decorations up, and his name is Mike Roth.
Yeah, well, you know, when you celebrate hard, you go long distance, you know?
Yeah?
Yeah. What can I do?
I'm waiting.
I love Arbor Day.
Oh, I know. You planted those trees. They're still up.
No,
I don't like
no,
that.
It's not just a one-day affair. When you have them up all the time,
Yeah.
I plant trees.
Nice job.
It was like
like
-0 last week. It was a pain in the butt, but that poor tree is totally going to die in my lawn.
You're a regular Johnny Appleseed. I'm waiting for you to reach under the desk and come out with a claw, by the way. I'm just waiting for it. Careful.
Just don't fall asleep.
Never fall asleep. All right, so this week we're kind of starting our wrap-up of 2017.
Yeah.
We like to stretch it out a little bit, you know, talk about the movies of 2017, and we have one of the final movies to actually be released. And so I'm going to get us started here with the first movie on the marquee, The Post, the new film from director Steven Spielberg. You may have heard of him. Stars Meryl Streep as Kay Graham, and Kay Graham is the owner. This is all based on actual people, actual events. Kay Graham is the owner of the Washington Post, and Kay and the Post, the paper itself, are kind of at a critical juncture for both the paper and American politics. She, as the first real female owner of a sizable newspaper, she's kind of fighting against the good old boys club. They don't think a broad can handle this kind of business. You also have the Tom Hanks in here as Ben Bradley, who's kind of her editor-in-chief. And a lot of this movie is centered around the events of Vietnam. The New York Times has uncovered a treasure trove of documents from McNamara, and they are not good things. There's not good things in there. They found a leak, and it led to this firestorm from the White House and throughout the country about our knowledge and involvement in Vietnam. And so a lot of this movie is the investigative journalism into Vietnam and this report and what presidents knew and what would happen if this news were released. You also have a lot of this movie deals with the stock sale of the Washington Post as they go public and what could happen with that, the price, the stocks, all of this kind of going on. And throughout it all, you have Meryl Streep being Meryl Streep, really. I mean, just doing what Meryl Streep does. It's got a great cast. As I said, Meryl Streep, Tom Hanks, Bob Odenkirk as Ben Bigdagian. He's an investigative journalist in this. You also have David Cross. I like the little Mr. Show reunion here.
Yeah, it was really interesting. You watch this movie, and you have these like secondary characters, not really big names, but
you're like,
they
I
keep
know that
popping
guy.
up. Yeah,
that
I've
guy.
seen that guy in things, and that guy. I watched this with my mom, and she's like, "Oh, Matt Damon put on a lot of weight." And I'm like, "Oh, that's not Matt Damon," but he is very
Jesse
popular.
Plemons, though, he's the other Matt Damon. You have Tracy Letts as. I love Tracy Letts. He is Kay Graham's advisor, Fritz, who's kind of like trying to keep her out of trouble.
Yeah.
You know, trying to steer her in the right direction. The movie is kind of interesting to me because you think Spielberg, Streep, Hanks, when this was announced, it was like, okay, so this is going to win all the Oscars, right? I mean, it's kind of like the perfect storm of all the greatest things. And I don't know about you, but for me, I was left kind of wanting a little bit.
Yeah.
It was lacking the punch that I thought it was going to get.
And they tried to heighten that punch a little bit, I feel, with the whole stuck, because it wasn't just about the papers. It was also about her paper just failing, you know? And even though this great story would launch a great success, and it had a lot to do about the responsibility of the media and freedom of the press, all that really didn't have the punch that I was kind of hoping to make it an exciting movie. It's still a very interesting movie, acted extremely well, but that was my only drag on this to feel like this could have been an awesome movie.
I mean, obviously it's Spielberg. So I think technically the movie is really well done.
Yeah.
In all the technical aspects, there's some beautiful shots. It's opening the box that has the papers in it. They're all gathered around. And be like, these are great shots. Unfortunately, I just kind of wanted more. It lacked emotion to me, which is surprising with these. And I thought Meryl Streep was great. She kind of plays the sweet, genuine lady. She's got this quiet power about her, those this measured performance that she puts in. For me, my biggest disappointment in this movie was Tom Hanks. I felt like he was given like a C+ Tom Hanks performance.
Yeah.
It felt like he was a wig and an accent, and then just kind of just being Tom Hanks. We've seen Tom Hanks be amazing, and I felt like he was just like, well, I mean, it's going to be great. I don't need to really hammer it home as Ben Bradley.
I actually liked his performance a lot. I thought he was doing what he could to transform his character into what he believed the original character was. But of course, Tom Hanks bleeds through, and we had that problem with The Circle earlier this year, where Tom Hanks is supposed to be a villain, but everybody loves Tom Hanks. So you really didn't grasp he was a villain until the very end. And this one, yeah, again, you have Tom Hanks. It's
my other problem with his performance, and part of it is this movie and comparisons I naturally made, was I think this movie sits squarely in the shadow of All the President's Men. They take place at the same time. They take place kind of concurrently. Tom Hanks' character, Ben Bradley, was played by, won an Academy Award by Jason Robards. He played Ben Bradley in that movie. That movie is one of my 30 favorite movies ever. I think it's one of the greatest films dealing with kind of the same subject matter. This Kay Graham is in the movie, Ben Bradley's in the movie, and Jason Robards is phenomenal, and Tom Hanks was Tom Hanks as opposed to Ben Bradley to me. And so that kind of was something. But Bob Odenkirk, I thought Bob Odenkirk was going for it in this movie. He was really, really good.
Yeah, I actually don't have a problem. Sarah Paulson, she's one of those characters where, I like what she does in American Horror Story, but when I see her in other things, I don't really feel it. This one, I thought she did a great job. She did a fantastic job. Bradley Whitford is another person that I really enjoy watching in his television series, but in this one, he separates himself from those type of characters he does on TV, and then he's totally something different in this, and I absolutely
like Bradley Whitford a lot. Yeah, I like, there's a lot of things introduced in this movie. The Vietnam aspect, the stock sale aspect, the White House trying to infringe on freedom of the press and First Amendment issues, which we're dealing with today as we speak, a White House that is trying to steer what can be said and what can't be said, ripped from the headlines.
And I think that's getting also a lot of buzz right now because of that, because a lot of the issues, like the women issues and the suppression of the free press, that kind of stuff is extremely current, so it makes this movie feel a little bit more heightened, but still the quality of the movie, even though everybody acted well and the shots were great.
Part of it, I think, is expectations, too. When you put all these things together, and you put it out during the Oscar season, the end of the year, that's like, oh, here we go. This is going for the awards.
Even with the beginning scene, it starts off with scenes from Vietnam, which felt very cookie cutter from every Vietnam movie I've ever seen. And it really wasn't going beyond, and then it went into a dry spiel of explaining the situation, which they did not make that interesting. And for people who know the history really well, it felt like a long rehash of something that you already know. You want the story to progress already.
I agree. What did you end up giving The Post?
I gave it a 4. It is a great movie, but it's not awesome like I wanted it to be.
Yeah, it's a movie that, like I say, I think technically it's really well done. I just don't know that I'll revisit this movie. I don't think this will be one of those Spielberg movies that I'm like, you know what, I want to watch The Post.
Yeah.
I think it'll just be like, yeah, that was good. I remember liking it. I remember it being fine, but this will probably be the last time I watch it.
This cool thing about our world, though, it's always filled with great movies.
Not always. We are entering January, sir.
If we're really jaded and we couldn't go revisit anything else, I'd see The Post again.
Sure. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars as well. I agreed with you. I think it's good, but a little letdown. I was expecting great. We just got good. That's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
It's good.
What do you have on the marquee, sir?
Well, I have the best horror movie of the year.
There we go.
It really is, because the year just started. And
the first movie of 2018.
That's my favorite joke every year. Insidious, The Last Key. We have another installment in the Insidious situation we have. Elise Rayner is back, played by Lynn Shay. She has to revisit her childhood home. This is, you get a lot of backstory on Elise, this one, where this is where she found out she had these special gifts where she could see these demons and ghosts and loved ones and blah, blah, blah. And also, we find out that she let a demon go that causes people to kind of do bad things. There's a little bit of possession in here, demons. It's pretty much the same as all the Insidious movies. And that being said, if you love all the Insidious movies, you are going to enjoy this one. It might not be your favorite. You might start thinking this is the same stuff over and over again. But me, I still love this stuff. It's fantastic. I was giddy when I saw it. I had the same scares that I had in all the other ones where they're just a master at holding a scene and you keep on thinking, this is going to be scary, and they just hold it there, and that suspense never goes away. You don't get bored. You're scared the entire time. Absolutely love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a movie that gets into your head, and I did like how it got into Elise's backstory a little bit. Problem with all these prequels, since Elise died in the first movie, is that something I'm always thinking, this doesn't have a happy ending.
Right.
We all know what's going to happen eventually. But is it creepy? Is it scary? Yeah, it is. I thought it was a pretty good movie. Not the best of the Insidious series, but a 3.5 is...
3.5 stars.
I think well deserved, and I said that way too early.
No, it's great. The trailer's still going, but that's all right. Yeah, I actually had planned to see this, and life got in the way, and I was unable to see it. But,
life is kind of a jerk sometimes.
It can be,
Yeah.
but I'm glad to see that you liked it, and I'm actually going to go see it then.
All right.
Probably this weekend.
Cool.
After that.
You did like the other Insidious.
I
right?
did actually. Yeah. I mean, it's weird because it's a franchise that I shouldn't like based on my tastes.
Yeah.
I'm just not big into that.
The way these series, and same thing with the Annabelle series too, and I mean
Conjuring series.
The Conjuring series.
Yeah.
They do a really good job at not masking everything. You could see into the darkness, and they purposely put things in the darkest to confuse you or scare you and stuff like that. But it's not obvious. It doesn't feel obvious. I just love how these things are shot.
Nice. Mike says 3.5 stars. Go check it out. All right, sir. As I said at the beginning of the show, we are starting our wrap-up of 2017, looking back on all the movies that we saw, and we saw a bunch of them. And so this week...
What's your number?
I believe 204.
All right.
204, I believe, is the number.
I must be in the high hundreds because
You are.
you see...
You are. Yeah, I know you're over 100. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's obvious.
I see a lot.
Yeah, and so looking back, first thing we're going to do is talk about movies that were disappointments for us. Movies that aren't necessarily terrible movies. These might not be the worst movies. Movies that we went in hoping for good and maybe didn't get good.
Yeah.
Or hoping for great and only got eh.
Yeah.
And so these are very personal. I mean, we could talk about the worst movies of the year, but a lot of times that turns into just some really bad movies. And the Pyramid and the Imposter and movies that nobody saw anyways.
Yeah.
Why rehash them?
Or we'll run into the same really bad movies that everybody is talking about.
But this is personal to you.
Yeah.
Your taste and what did or didn't work for you. And so this week we're going to deal with our disappointments. We'll talk about the movies we loved in the near future. But this week, I'm going to let you start it off, sir. We're going to do our top 5 most disappointing films of 2017.
Number 5. Suburbicon. You had a great director. You had George Clooney. You had the writers, the Coen brothers. The previews for this looked absolutely hilarious, but it fell short. It became a Matt Damon and Julianne Moore show, and they didn't dive into what could have made this movie absolutely great. I ended up giving this movie 2. It was... I considered it a bad movie, and I really wasn't expecting that at all.
That's a good choice. My number 5 is a movie that we just reviewed a couple of weeks ago that I was actually pretty excited for, and I was thoroughly disappointed. That's Pitch Perfect 3. And I'm not going to get too far into it because we just reviewed it a week or two ago, but I really dig this franchise, and this movie was a stinker to me and just kind of betrayed all the characters as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And had no decent antagonist in the movie for the girls to be going up against. And it turned into a weird spy movie. It's just, no thanks. I was really disappointed by Pitch Perfect 3.
Actually, I could get back into talking about that, too. I was disappointed, too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted better, but this is probably the end, so.
But it wasn't as disappointing as The Mummy. This was one of those movies that I kind of expected could be bad, but I started seeing the trailers, and I started getting into the movie monster madness, and my expectations started going up. I was thinking, this could be great. This is what Universal wants to start their movie monster franchise on, and the director let Tom Cruise have the whole movie. And it was terrible. Don't let Tom Cruise side direct you, because he's just going to put his face in it as much as he can, and he's going to ultimately destroy what could be a really good story. You have Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe.
And this movie killed the Universal shared monster universe that they were playing. They wanted to do like Marvel does.
Yeah.
And they're introducing it with Jekyll and Hyde and Bride of Frankenstein. And then after this movie, they announced, we're closing the doors on that dark universe we had planned. We had Angelina Jolie. We had all these Johnny Depp cast in future movies. Screw it.
And
they can't get any of these movies off the ground.
And literally, you can blame Tom Cruise on this one.
Yeah.
I really like the Frankenstein movie.
I Frankenstein?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
no,
love that
not I
movie.
Frankenstein, the other one.
I just want to get that quote.
The Dr. Frankenstein movie
Yeah.
that came out a
Victor
few years
Frankenstein?
ago. Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, not great, but it was fun.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about Dracula story
Dracula Untold.
But
Yeah.
no, I was kind of looking forward to it. Let down.
Yeah, big letdown. My number 4 is a movie that I don't think is terrible. It's just fell way, way short. And that is A Cure for Wellness.
Yeah.
The newest film from Gore Verbinski. Dane DeHaan starring in it as a guy. The premise is kind of interesting. The visuals were interesting. The story was just kind of went nowhere and just circled the drain for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, this guy who goes up into this mental hospital trying to bring somebody back, and wait a minute, is he sucked in? Is he in his own head the whole time? Who knows? And like I said, there's interesting bits to the movie, but I was left really disappointed by the end. I'm like, that's all we got? All of that? It was a great trailer.
Yeah.
Really sold me on it. And then I was just left with like, eh.
Well, that ending was actually pretty bad. It was. It wanted to be disturbing and shocking, but it really came off as hokey.
Yeah, it did. Absolutely came off as hokey.
It really felt like maybe an ending to like a 50s horror movie.
Yeah. I was really disappointed with A Cure for Wellness. So that's my number 4. Your number 3, sir.
My number 3.
What's that? We stopped talking for a second. Your number 3.
My number 3 is The Circle.
Ah, there we go.
I mentioned this earlier. We had a great trailer. You had Emma Watson. You had Tom Hanks. And I was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And it just fell really short. The story was choppy, and the acting wasn't good. And Tom Hanks was probably my biggest disappointment in it, because it's Tom Hanks. I like Tom Hanks a lot.
They wanted you to go on a trip with that movie, too, of, like, we just hung around Emma Watson, and suddenly, 2/3 of the way through the movie, I'm supposed to care about her friend from back home, and that's supposed to turn.
Yeah.
And I just remember from watching that movie that with, like, the last 3 minutes of the movie, suddenly things got interesting. Because suddenly, Tom Hanks and Patton Oswalt are real bad guys. We're about to find out they're real bad guys,
and they likable people.
And they find out, that they're about to get busted. You're like, yeah, here we go, and then credits.
Yeah.
Whoa, we're just getting good. I'm finally starting to care about this movie. Credits. I really did not like this movie.
And it had that fun little ditty in the background for like most of the movie and in the trailers that made you think, oh, this is going to be really deep. This is going to open up things. No.
Yeah, that is not a good
Great
movie.
concept, not great.
Exactly. My number 3 is the newest movie from Colin Trevorrow. It is The Book of Henry. I really like Colin Trevorrow as a director. His last couple movies, he did Safety Not Guaranteed, which I liked. Jurassic World a couple years ago. Really looking forward to this. I like the young actors, Jacob Tremblay and the other kid who played his brother in this movie. I'm like, oh, the trailer looked great. And the movie was all over the place in tone. Like, at 1 minute, I'm supposed to be sad, but then there's some slapstick stuff going on. I thought Naomi Watts was really bad in this movie. And then it turns into like some weird action movie off the death of a child in the middle of the movie. And I'm like, what's going on? Suddenly it turns into like a Taken movie, kind of. And wait a minute. None of this is believable.
Yeah.
I can't follow you down this path. And it's too bad, because I thought that the two young boys who were the leads in this were pretty good. Naomi Watts was not. She was really bad. And this movie was really disappointing to me. So.
I didn't see this one.
Yeah, you're okay.
I'm kind of glad.
Yeah, you're all right not seeing it. That was my number 3 most disappointing movie. Your number 2.
Number 2. Oh, this wasn't getting like super huge hype, but you had Idris Elba. You had Kate Winslet. 2 great actors. When the trailers came out, you had these beautiful landscapes. I'm talking about the mountain between us. I was looking forward to this for a few months, and it was just a whirlwind of terrible. It's a love story when it should have been a Survivor story, and you wanted it to be a Survivor story, but they broke all the Survivor rules.
It wasn't real. It wasn't
all
believable.
about love, and you didn't think there was going to be love because it's a Survivor movie. Yeah, you could have a love, but not a sexy scene. You haven't bathed. You got blood on you.
No, every time it's about to get dark, they thankfully stumbled across a shelter.
Yeah, and their dog.
Thankfully there's a cabin. Oh, thankfully there's this.
They're starving to death, and they have a pet dog that was full of energy and found food somehow.
Real meaty looking.
Yeah, but I would have ate the dog. It would have been sad. It really would have. But
Can
it's
we pull
death
that audio
or dog.
Eating that dog.
But anywho, yeah, huge disappointment.
The only good thing about that movie for me is it was one of the small handful of movies this past year that you and I got to watch together.
Yeah.
Because people don't know, our schedules don't allow us to really go to the movies together like we used to.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the ones that just kind of on a coincidence, we both wound up at the theater at the same time, and we're one of the few people in that theater.
Yeah.
And kind of got a little Mystery Science Theater in us at least, cracking wise about it because nobody cared.
No.
Who cares about the plot of this movie? Yeah, that's a good choice. That was not a good movie.
And I gave that movie a 1. This is a solidly bad movie.
It for sure
Not
is.
only disappointing, but it was.
Idris Elba had a rough 2017 between this and Dark Tower.
But I like the Dark Tower.
Ugh.
But
That might show up on a different list of mine at some
I
point.
wish they didn't shove 6 books in 1
Yeah,
hour
right,
and a half,
exactly.
but
All right, my number 2 is a movie that I was completely sold on from the trailer, from the director, from the lead actor. I'm like, there's no way you can screw this up. It looks great. I'm talking about The Snowman. Director Thomas Alfredson, who just came off of doing Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
And Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. You have Michael Fassbender, who's a guy I love.
Yeah.
He makes some odd choices, but for the most part, he's great in everything. And it's a movie about this serial killer that just is out in this bleak,
Beautiful landscape.
beautiful landscape. And I was in. I'm like, this could be great. And in my opinion, it was far short of great.
Yeah.
It relied solely on the landscape and those beautiful shots. And the story was just all over the place. It felt like they dropped some of the frames and just threw them back in the movie randomly. None of the things lined up. Continuity-wise, I remember complaining about this. Like, they had to do so many reshoots that Michael Fassbender's hair would go from short to long throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Because nobody cared about continuity. And then the director comes out and says, yeah, we only were able to shoot like 70% of the script. So the rest of it we just kind of had to fix in editing and try and make a movie out of it. Yeah. That didn't work for me.
See, my expectations was not high on
Yeah.
that one. So I kind of left feeling average.
Yeah.
I felt pretty good with my
I went in
average.
hoping this was going to be a really good movie. And, time of year, it came out.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay, here we go. This is going to be good horror flick, good serial killer. No. Nope. I was horribly disappointed. So The Snowman is my number 2 most disappointing film.
Well,
You ready for it?
Yeah.
What's your most disappointing?
Geostorm. I mean, really, you have a movie that it's a Survivor movie, and you're thinking it's going to be like all these other, the world's going to end, and there's going to be some great special effects, some really creative things, but they mix this weird love story in it, and special
Sibling
effects.
rivalry.
Yeah, it was complete crud. It
Yeah.
really was.
It wasn't
and
fun.
Even when you're like, okay, well, I'm going to get rid of the story. Let's watch the special effects. Even the special effects were way below par.
Absolutely. You're going to make a disaster movie? Give me a disaster.
And then you had the typical Transformer ending where people are getting away, and for some reason, and the whole world of getting away, the people that are conflicting end up together.
Why not?
It's just like, and they explained it like pretty much. Why not?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Why?
Because I'm the president.
Because I'm the man. All right, my number one most disappointing movie of the year is two movies that share a common actor. And one of them is one that you talked about earlier, Suburbicon.
Yeah.
Matt Damon, George Clooney directing. The trailer was great. I thought we were going to get a Coen Brothers feeling movie, and I was left really wanting. It was really slack. And then the second one is another Matt Damon movie, and that is Downsizing. Downsizing, I went in, I was sold on the trailer the first time I saw it. I'm like, oh, this looks really interesting concept.
Yeah.
And the movie just kind of spun its wheels for a good chunk of it. I did not care for it. I've gotten into some discussions with people online. They're like, oh, it's really funny. You're wrong, Danny. And it's not funny. Yeah, so both of the Matt Damon made 3 movies this year, and I think all 3 of them were subpar.
And politically, he's been kind of getting himself in trouble, too.
I mean,
so
these
he's gotta
two,
watch
and then
it.
you put The Great Wall in, which is
Oh,
just a
I
terrible
forgot
movie,
about
but
that.
we knew it was going to be
Yeah.
terrible going in. So, yeah, those are my most disappointing films. Now,
What
we're
is-
going to give our one worst film of the year,
Yep.
just straight off your worst film. What do you have?
Not even going to talk about Transformers last night. Terrible. No.
Yeah, that's not good. And my worst is what I thought was the worst horror film of the year. One of the only 2 movies I gave 0 stars to, Jigsaw. Jigsaw I thought was
terrible.
just horrible and somehow just edged out on Snatched for me to be the worst movie.
Mine was Smurfs.
Yeah?
That was my second, but
Remember you were
Transformers was
angry
terrible.
when you saw
Oh,
that.
I hated that movie.
So those are our most disappointing and worst films of 2017. Let's take a quick look ahead at what's going to be coming out the weekend of January 19th. We're going to have 3 films on the marquee. First one is 12 Strong, which is the story of the first 12 men to go into battle after 9/11. They end up having to fight Al-Qaeda on horseback. Stars Chris Hemsworth, Michael Shannon, amongst other people, and it's the recently declassified true story.
I actually know who I'm taking to that already. I have a
me?
friend that is a huge Chris Hemsworth fan.
Who isn't? The next movie we have is the new Gerard Butler movie, Den of Thieves, where he's a bad cop and he's taking out bad guys. This feels like your prototypical January action movie.
Yeah, my expectations on
Oh
this
my
is pretty
God,
low.
this movie looks. And Gerard Butler, this is from the guy, director, first time directing. He's the guy who is known for writing London Has Fallen. He loves some Gerard Butler action. I want to make one with you. So look out, kids. And the last movie is a movie that Mike is really excited for. It's called Forever My Girl. It is a story about a country singer who comes back home to find love.
Yeah,
I know you're pumped.
I said I was going to watch that.
Yeah,
right.
you
Yeah.
promised that you were going to watch that one. So those will be the movies on the marquee January 19th. Before we leave you, of course, we want to thank our sponsor, Marcus Cinemas. The theater here in Sun Prairie, The Palace, is where we go to see our movies. Thank you for sponsoring this show. We always recommend The Palace. If you want to find more from us, you can always find both of us sitting around on the internets. If you go search Real Reviews TV on Facebook or Twitter, you can see. This is episode 194 now, Michael.
We're getting up there.
We are chopping our way to 200. If you want to see 194 previous episodes, go to sunprairiemediacenter.com. There's an on-demand player. You can see them all. You can see sets change, beards come and go, hair change, the whole 9. It's a great time. Good movies, bad movies.
If someone binges all 200, I'm buying them dinner.
Nice. Just go back and watch our best and worst of the last few years. Every year we do our best and worst.
Yeah.
That's always a good time. You can also find us in glorious HD on your YouTube if you search Real Reviews KSUN, K-S-U-N. Next week, sir, we are going to be talking about Paddington 2.
Uh-huh.
We're going to be talking about Proud Mary
Yep.
and Liam Neeson's The Commuter. Those
Looking
will
forward to
all
it.
be the films of next week. And as I say, stick around because we're going to be talking about our favorite movies coming up soon.
Yeah.
And this is a great time of year. We're rolling into Oscar season, the whole 9.
I'm pumped.
Yeah, you bet. We got mediocre movies and award shows. I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, that's all coming in the near future. But until that time, I'm Jameson.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.